We are live.
All right, welcome back to the House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee on January 22nd. We are going to have a committee discussion today about the idea of having committee guiding principles, which some but not all committees in the House have. And I believe that Representative Corey and Representative Southworth and Representative Kleffner have been working on this project, and so we are going to turn it over to you to lead the discussion. And we've got 20 minutes, 25 minutes, however long it takes.
That's perfect, thank you. We also have Representative Morrow and some insights from Sebelia shared with us. So I really appreciate Chair James responding positively to the idea, considering would it be helpful to our committee to identify some guiding principles for our role in this big critical infrastructure jurisdiction that we are legislating in. So it seems really timely now that we've had a number of introductions and we've kind of learned a little bit about the landscape of energy and telecom, at least so far. This seems like a great time to kind of check back in. We've done just a little bit of thinking and really want to seek the guidance of the full committee about the value of having guiding principles. And what would the process of creating them look like? So just as we had a quick little field trip down the hall. We went to Human Services, we went to Healthcare, and we took a look at their guiding principles, which you can find on the second page of this handout. This handout is just a little rough sketch of some of our conversations and some examples of guiding principles found online. So there's no, it's just a rough working document. But so yeah, if you read, you can see, maybe we could read actually the healthcare one. We did have a visitor yesterday. It was the chair of the healthcare committee, Chair Black. And she popped in just to see how we were doing here. And while she was here, I asked her about what was the process like in the healthcare committee when you developed your principles. And she shared that it was actually arduous. It doesn't go quickly, but she thinks it was really worth it. And that she finds herself regularly when she's in the middle of these complex topics that we all deal with in our committees, being guided by those principles, looking up and seeing reminders of goals have been helpple in the committee. So
is this something they developed this year then?
No, it's older. Okay. I'm not sure exactly when, but those principles were definitely there last session.
They're in their committee rooms, front and center on a whiteboard, right?
That's right.
For all of us to see, for witnesses to see.
Right. So I guess what I wanted to do is just have a simple open discussion about like how do people feel about, after maybe you read these, feel about developing some for our own committee as sort of the infrastructure for all of the other services that happen in this building for Vermonters. You know, we're the stewards of the critical infrastructure that makes it possible for people to have livelihoods and communicate and turn the power on. So, we're not a touchy-feely committee, but we are very much vested with the public interest. So I thought today we could talk about a little bit why all of us decided to do the field trip and to start talking about this. And I thought maybe we could start with Rep. Southworth, who did a little field trip in the building.
Yeah. Thank you. Regardless of political affiliation, we all take an oath. And in that oath, we swear to uphold the Constitution of the state. And the 18th article of the Constitution of the state of Vermont, to me, has some verbiage in there that's very relevant to everything we all do in this in our committees. Fundamental principles, adherence to justice, moderation, temperance, industry, and frugality. Just those words alone, to me, give us a guide when we are looking at what we're doing. Does what we're doing fit the Constitution, what we're required to do? And I think that it's just a good reference for us, just to kind of bring us back and say, okay, does this make sense with these, as well as others that we've talked about and we've started to look at. I just feel that it's a very good piece of what we should be doing.
Could you read that section again, please?
Sure. The frequent recurrence to fundamental principles and a firm adherence to justice, moderation, temperance, industry, and frugality are absolutely necessary to preserve the blessings of liberty and keep government free. And it goes on. I can read the entire verbiage if you want, but it's the 18th article.
Thank you.
And it's also the article that's downstairs in the Lincoln hallway on the wall. So it hit me when I first came here, when I read that, and it stuck with me in my head. And I just feel this is a good place for that.
Did you ever have that? Okay. Other team members?
I'm not the chair.
Yes. Yeah, I think one of the things for us to talk about now is why would guiding principles be helpful to us? It may be an arduous process, as we have heard. Is it really worth our while? Do we want to devote time to having a set of principles that we all agree on, that we can put on the wall, that we can refer to, or not? And what would be most useful in a set of guiding principles, if we think it's useful? Like, how broad or how narrow should they be? And particularly with energy, I think Representative Torrey called out something I like to say, which I've said before, which is the UN definition of sustainability, which is providing for today's needs without compromising the ability of future generations to provide for their needs. That is a personal guiding principle for me in life.
Everyone?
I did not have something. I need to digest this.
Representative Spivak?
Two things. I love the idea of guiding principles. I think they're really helpful for coming back. I would say I'm moderately alarmed by some of the guiding principles that I see drafted here.
Those are just examples.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any guiding principles.
They go against some principles that we have utilized to develop historic legislation in the past. Aside from that, like the bigger picture, I think it's really helpful. And I think it gives us a place as a committee to work on, to find consensus.
Absolutely. And that's, to me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I can chime in. I see two really important values in doing this work. The first is a little bit more public facing, which is that I think that when folks come in to testify to our committee, I think it's useful for them to see our shared values and see what we're trying to accomplish here. It's probably a little bit less relevant to some of the folks we've had in so far who are, they're used to giving testimony. They do this all the time. This is their job. But in many committees I've served on, we have members of the public come in, and it can be intimidating, and it can feel very scary to come in and testify. And I think seeing something affirming that tells them that we're about something, it can actually be helpful. And I'm also really interested in the conversation that we have as a committee, because we're gonna have hard controversial bills to take up that we haven't gotten to yet. And it's a great way of helping everybody have a chance to get their share of, like, because we're gonna probably in the process of developing these principles, we're gonna have to dump things that, well, that one doesn't work for me and that one doesn't work for you. And, so I'm imagining sort of a paring away of all the ones that we don't share and getting down to what might be in the end a pretty simple list of shared values that we've worked hard to come to. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that we don't have to have a huge list.
Right.
Especially at the onset. Just the basics to get us going. Then as we go through the next year and a half together, we're gonna start thinking of different things that we can add into that.
Mm-hmm.
Leave it a living document, so to speak, so that we can add to it as need be, or as we feel that it will work for us.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the,
It does seem like it needs to be a very succinct list. Is there are a lot, so you all come up with these?
No,
examples, or
that was just a,
Spaghetti on the wall.
yeah, that was a search, to see like what's out there in the guiding principles world.
Somebody used AI.
Just to
One
get
neighbor
some,
don't use AI.
but these are not our recommendations.
Right.
All we did actually was throw out this first paragraph that says key concepts. We literally had words, just, safety, reliability, a lot of the things we've already been hearing. But one thought I had is, do we hope to be able to extract guiding principles that are cross-cutting across all the sectors? So broadband, does it need to have something unique? Or are the concepts of consumer protection?
I think we should start there myself. Yeah.
Start with
Start
cross-cutting.
with the
Yes.
cross-cutting?
Start with the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would love for that. And I will say, as we're starting to learn from Maria, that we have regulated utilities, and then we have private businesses who I consider to be, they should be regulated like utilities, who are not, who are under our purview. So telecommunications is not like a regulated utility. And so we have hopes and dreams for telecommunications, and we have, except for consumer protection.
And I see a clear difference between a principle we all share that cuts across all these policies and then like policy.
Okay.
So in my mind, I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong, but we could get into a major rabbit hole if we start trying to come up with principles for each of our policy areas. I feel like we need to strip it away and come down to like,
Right.
consumer accountability, transparency, whatever, affordability, sustainability, these kinds of.
Yeah, but there's also a
Justice.
danger of being just in platitudes, right? So it has to be a little bit specific to our
Mission.
Yeah, to our policy area, the committee.
Right. And I think we have to be careful that we're not pigeonholing ourselves, that these are how we actually do every single thing.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
We can't do that. We have to be able to flex.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also don't quite know where sort of our implicit community agreements on how we treat each other fits in with this. These, when I went into the healthcare and these and looked at them, they were much more kind of policy oriented, and there was less, be honest, treat each other with respect, come to every conversation with an open mind, those sorts of things, which feel kind of like a different category. Don't know.
That we can do whatever we want. I mean, this is just us doing this for, I think it would be really kind of neat to add some of those, for each other and for every witness who comes to our committee, we will, and then get into some of the respect type stuff. I think we're gonna be okay with that, but I would love to. Yeah.
My thought is ultimately anything that we do has to be the best for the people of the state of Vermont that we're here to represent.
Yeah.
End of discussion. And that's in my head. That's my thought. And around all spectrums, every single person, that's what we're here for.
I don't think anybody would disagree with that. That's why everybody's in this building, right? So that's what we all want to do. But we have different views.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But-
absolutely.
And I think there's value in making that explicit, that we all believe that and respect that in each other. Because
Yeah.
one thing I've noticed so often is that the way, in general, by and large, overwhelmingly, the way we show up here as legislators and treat each other in this workplace is profoundly respectful. I have found,
Yeah.
and very collegial. And then there's what everybody says on Facebook and social media, what they think happens here.
That's what I don't do either.
And so making that explicit, what we all know to be kind of the, how things really work here in a workplace, I think it'd be great. That's helpful. So, what do you guys see as next steps? How do you want to, I'm not a huge, process person in terms of facilitating I'm not an HR person or a strategic plan person, so I don't really know
Could I make a suggestion?
yeah.
Since we had this initial discussion, we've got some stuff to look at. Would it be good to have each person in the committee just put together 2 or 3 and email them to Representative Tory?
Sure.
And then the next meeting, we can go over what everyone has submitted to see if there's any commonalities and start from there.
Great. Yeah.
Could that include things that are already listed? I mean, I see some things
Absolutely.
here that I think are fantastic.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. In fact, I would encourage that as well.
Okay.
And in terms of timing for that, we always need deadlines.
We always do need deadlines. Yeah.
In a couple weeks or?
Oh, well,
Because it's bonus time, sort of.
that will be bonus time. Yeah. Maybe we could all try to think about that.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's before 4:30
Yes.
So,
on Tuesday.
so next Tuesday? So by the end of the day on Monday?
What do you think
Wait,
after?
your caucuses. What do you
After the conferences,
After the caucuses.
right?
Yeah.
In theory.
Mhm. I don't know, ours went till like noon.
Did it?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Why don't we say end of the day on Tuesday?
Tuesday? Okay.
Will you remind everybody?
Yeah, next Tuesday's a budget discussion, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Well, it starts at 1, so we'll be done by 2:30 or something.
Yeah, maybe after the Gov's budget address, because I don't think we have testimony scheduled, because I wasn't sure.
And maybe if it's easy for people, I'll send a reminder via email and I'll include a link to a shared document. So if you'd like to just put your 2 cents right in there, you can. And if you'd rather just email, you can email me back and I'll cut it in.
Sounds great. All right.
Great.
So again, these will be sort of foundational principles, not specific to energy or digital infrastructure, but just across our entire policy area, right?
As we see it.
And they also include, what's the right word, sort of, how we treat each other, right? Sort of generic,
Generic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
That sounds really good to me.
All right. Thanks for putting this
Thank
time
you.
in. Yeah, really appreciate it. All right, Jack, I think we can